Well, we are heading towards Anzac weekend, an opportunity to remember and perhaps talk with our older loved ones about their memories. Such an important thing to do, but something we often don't do, right, Tanya?
We really forget, don't we? We really
Yeah.
take advantage of the fact and think they're going to be here forever, and we get a bit complacent.
Absolutely. Of course, talking with Tanya Unkovich this afternoon, but there are so many lessons that we can learn from our elders. I mean, let's talk about that because they've got a wealth of knowledge and history behind them.
Look, all of that, plus their own personal experiences. Probably they're not used to opening up and sharing how they felt growing up and when they went through the war and experienced so many things. So ask them, how did that feel for you? How did that feel? How did that change the trajectory of your life and who you became in experiencing everything that you did back then? There's so much, not only war, but just so much life when it was basic.
I mean, I think there's a lot that we can learn from our elders, and they did really seem to be the masters of resilience, because whether they went through a world war or just went through some very tough times, I mean, history is plagued with different things that they've probably gone through and got through.
Yes. And it's a really good reminder for us, but also something to help strengthen us whenever we're feeling a little bit weak and disempowered. It's like, oh, hang on, look at what our parents went through and they're still here. They've, been able to live so many more decades later and they're still okay. So that means I'll be okay as well. And, you spoke about resilience. They were so physically resilient. So many people, a few generations older than us, they just worked hard, didn't they? They couldn't just get in the car and go somewhere. They were physically strong. And that's a really good lesson for us to actually go, look, I'm going to take those stairs. I'm not going to jump in the elevator. I am going to go back to basics and learn all about resilience. Back at that core level that our parents went through.
I mean, whether it be emotional or physical resilience, yeah, I mean, I think it was about working very hard, and we can learn a lot from the fact that they actually had to make a lot from scratch, didn't they?
Oh, they did. They had to, I remember my father used to make our toys and things like that, and all of the baking was all home baking, wasn't it? Everything was so basic, and they didn't have social media, so they were able to talk to one another. Just all of these basic things that we've forgotten about, communication, praying together, couples and families praying together, things like that, which really cemented unity, family, resilience, that emotional resilience. We had each other to go to instead of just looking at a social media feed to get that food, that spiritual food, that emotional food. We learned to go to one another and then to go within and find that deep, resilient part of ourselves that is in there.
And, I think more than ever, Tanya, you're probably feeling this year. I mean, it's been a tough, year in particular with both of your parents passing away. And, talking with you over the last little while, I mean, you did get an opportunity to find out more from your family, right?
Oh, very much so. When you know that the time is coming, you really do want to talk. And I did a lot of journaling, interestingly enough, over these last few months, just so that I don't forget the things that they said, but also the things that I felt while they were saying it and my own experience, So it's a precious time. If you've still got your parents, really value them and appreciate them, because we never quite know. Even if it's something as basic as taking down their recipes. I've just realised I didn't take down one of my mum's famous recipes. I'm going, Fred, how could I have forgotten that,
Yeah, absolutely.
So document as much as you can.
Yeah, I think it's so important, right? Finding out about some of those really great times in life, whether it's looking through some old photos together. My parents have slides, so sometimes we do an old slideshow, and that's actually really, really great. But also finding out from them about how they got through tough times as well, because falling down in life is part of life. And just finding out from them how they got through it.
Yeah, well, they probably didn't know there was a choice. They thought,
Mm.
I've got to get back up again, and I've got to get back up quickly because it means I won't be able to feed my family if I don't get back up again quickly. You know, there was just this I've got to do it, just do it attitude. And, it just made them strong, didn't it? To be
Mm.
able to have this belief in themselves that no matter what, I'm going to get back up again. And, over time, they just accept that this is part of life. And, I don't know if I ever really heard my parents beating up on themselves about their failures and things in life. They just accepted that was part of life and they didn't make a story out of it. Oh yeah, that happened, that was really tough. But we just got back on with it again, So those
Mm.
are some really important lessons for us to learn to not create stories and meaning about something if there isn't a meaning there.
I mean, that is really important when we think about the stories that we're going to tell our children as well.
Mm.
COVID-19 and how we got through the pandemic and all of that. And I think it's important to talk about the fact that yes, it was tough indeed, but we got through it, and
Yes.
these are the stories that we can start thinking of to tell our children and grandchildren as well, right?
And writing them down. Because
Mm.
one day they may not think to ask you all about it, but you can just hand them a document while we can still all remember things,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
document everything that you can now, and it can be a wonderful gift to your children.
Whether it's taking photos, and I have to admit I'm terrible at remembering to do that, and then of course printing them, Tanya,
Oh,
and
I
of
know.
course writing down some of our memories as well. It's really important stuff. Hey,
Yes.
thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Tanya. I think it's really important to remember that there are so many lessons that we can learn from our loved ones, from our parents or grandparents, and that they can share with us, particularly as we head to Anzac weekend. I mean,
Yes.
it's that whole adage of lest we forget. Well, let's not forget and let's learn
Mm.
from them.
Yes, yes. So true, so
So
true.
true. Hey, Tanya, if people do want to find out more about the things you do, of course, you and I have been chatting for a few years now. We
I
can,
know.
you can actually hark back to some of the interviews we've done on your YouTube channel.
Everything is there, my YouTube channel, plus there's loads of resources on my website on how to come back stronger after adversity, just like our parents did.
Hey, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
You are so welcome.